Welcome to the She Connects podcast. My name is Susan Vandenheuvel, and I am honored to be your host each and every week. This is an extension of my ministry, She Rises, that allows me to connect with women in the online space. You can learn more about me and my ministry at www.sherisesmn.org or simply tap the link in the show notes. But for now, let's dive into this week's episode. Well, hey, ladies, welcome back to the show. I'm so glad that you are here, and I'm really excited about this week's episode. I'm excited about my first time guest to the show. She's been tuning in when she has a chance. You're going to hear a little bit about the moving pieces, the many moving pieces in her life that perhaps doesn't allow her to tune in every week. But anyway, it's great to have her as a first time guest on the show. I think that you are going to love her. We were just praying before we started recording that just the topic that we're talking about, raising kids in today's world, specifically for moms, and no matter where you are in raising your kids, if you have little ones, toddlers, infants, preteens, teenagers, wherever you are, our heart is that you feel seen and valued and a little less alone. We will be specifically talking to and encouraging the single moms that might be tuning in, and I think that you are just gonna feel just so encouraged by today's guest. And so with that, Cassy, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're joining us from, and about your family, because you have little ones at home.
Yeah, I do. And actually, this is like first time ever that they're all three out of the house for this to get some silence in the house. So it's a little weird. I keep feeling like I hear something, but I don't. But yeah, my name's Cassy. I just moved to Minnesota where I met you, Susan, and my husband started as the lead pastor at Lighthouse Church in Rosemount, where he really was launched into a ministry that I've known that he's called to. It uses all of his gifts, and it's just been really, really fun to enter into that together. We just had, when we moved here, I was pregnant with number three. So we have Chris, who's 6, Selma, who is 2, and Ivana, who's almost 6 months. And
Mhm.
yeah, I stay at home with them, but I work part time at the church as this children's ministry director. And yeah, just I love ministry, love kids. And yeah, I think we've gotten to talk a lot about ministry and I really enjoyed that. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. I just have to put a shameless plug in for the church because I just think that Pastor Emmanuel is an incredible pastor. Is such an effective communicator. And one of the things I know both my husband and I appreciate about him is his ability to bring the gospel, share the gospel I mean,
Mhm.
it's unfiltered and he never compromises the word of God, which I love, or we wouldn't be there. But his ability to effectively communicate it in a way that allows people, no matter where they're at in their faith, to be able to wrap around it and then apply it to their lives. So it's not so heady that like, whoa, wait, I'm confused and how do I apply that? So if you
Yeah.
are looking for a church, come check us out, Lighthouse in Rosemount. We would love to have you and get to meet you. I think that you will really love getting to know and hear sit underneath Pastor Emmanuel's teaching. But with our conversation this week, raising kids in today's world, you shared you are a young mom. I think I'm actually on the other side of that because Tim and I have been an empty nester for really, I mean, several years now. So I want to say that, gosh, I might be getting it a little bit wrong, but it's not too far of a stretch. I think that our daughter went to college in 2010, I think. So it's been a while that we've been an empty nester. And so, I think back to when we were raising her, and of course there were challenges and different things like that, but really the world has changed, culture has changed. And so some of the challenges that and just in my own personal opinion, I would love to hear your thoughts, but I think that some of the challenges that today's parents are facing are a little bit more difficult and a little bit more complex than maybe I was facing when I was raising our daughter. But I'm just curious, as a young mom, what do you see as the main challenges facing today's parents?
Yeah. No, that's true. I definitely think it's complex. I was thinking through this, like, I think that obviously, like, social media has set up these expectations for parents. And it's like beyond just the image of being the picture perfect family. Like, there's that where it's like you compare yourself to this image of people being happy. And, I think for some people that's a huge struggle. Have kind of gone away from social media. I haven't been on there so much, but when I do, there's constantly videos of like healthy foods you can make for your toddler, which is so helpful. But then if you ever scroll through the comments, it's like it turns negative so quickly because people are just comparing them to some standard, like, oh, did you know that that brand of oat milk has this pesticide in it? And it's like, what? No one, it's just a healthy food idea. So I just think there's such an influx of opinions out there with social media, with just society the way that it is. So I think that expectations are a big challenge that parents meet, that parents, come up against. Even just talking about social media, I saw a friend's post recently. She just had a baby. And I just remember being absolutely shocked that she posted about her newborn baby like within a couple weeks of him being born. And, like, wow, you have the mental capacity to do that. Like, since having kids, it's like I have a totally new perspective on that. I would have just thought that that was normal, but now that I know what it's like at home and what she's going through as a mom, I'm like, wow, you have this picture of your beautiful baby, beautiful photography, but she's going through so much at home. I know as a first-time mom, it's just so hard. So I think just expectations are big. I think that priorities are a big thing too, where obviously as Christians, we know that the word of God gives us our priorities, that the Lord is first and our family comes next. But there's so much that I just like physically see in front of me when I walk in the door, like all these toys on the floor. The laundry needs to be folded. I have so many things on my checklist. This person needs this. So it's just like priorities are a big thing too. If we don't have that straight, I feel like it's so easy to just get weighed down by what seems to be the most pressing need.
Mm,
Um, yeah, and then maybe two other things like direction. I think that a lot of people like can't trust the news that we see. We've heard that, the news outlets are not trustworthy or we can't trust doctors. I feel like that's a really big thing lately. I don't know if that was around when your kids were growing up, but I feel like everyone I talk to is like, okay, the doctor told me we need these vaccines or this medication or this thing, but I researched it and it's not actually healthy. And I have a lot of friends who are into homeopathic solutions for things, which is great. I love that there's like a push for more natural things, but like, okay, if we can't trust the doctors, we can't trust what the news is saying. Our parents are doing things the old way. We can't trust that. There's just so much conflicting information. So direction is a big challenge too. And
mm,
then I would say like the last one maybe would be fears. I feel like there's so much these days that are causing fear in parenting. Like just that social media example where, you go through the comments and it's like, I was amazed because I usually just watch the video reel and I try not to keep scrolling, but I actually clicked on the comments to see what people were saying. And it's like, okay, every single one of these videos about parenting, just fun, whimsical ideas. People are like, "Oh, she's not strapped into this. Oh, make sure that you." It's like, come on. Like everything could possibly cause cancer or have like a health effect, or you want your kids to grow up through life and not have the challenges that we faced when we were growing up. And so I think a lot of parents are fearful about like where to go with that.
mm.
Um, yeah, so that was kind of a dump of ideas, but
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even I mean, just in I think all of those areas that you pointed out, I mean, I can see those and totally agree with you. I think that they are really like forefront right there, weighing on the hearts and the minds, just this pressure that today's
Mhm.
parent is carrying. And I would agree that a lot of those things I didn't have. I mean, social media wasn't a
Mhm.
thing, back
Yeah.
then. I hate to
Yeah.
date myself, but it just wasn't, and we had a level of trust and even a healthy relationship with our pediatrician. And we
Yeah.
actually reached out to them for advice and for guidance. We sought them out, and I think that online and all the different things at our fingertips to be able to research and get this opinion and that opinion and all of that kind of can create added stress, but you know I,
Yeah.
I think back to a few months ago when Tim and I had you and your lovely family over to our house for supper, and we were talking about, I don't even know really what we were talking about. I can't remember. I think I was asking you because we were just getting to know you guys, and so I had asked you just like, what are your passions and what do you enjoy doing, just to kind of genuinely get to know you. And you made this comment, and that was so long ago. You made this comment, and it just so like resonated with me. And it must have really been impactful to me because you made it so long ago, and yet it's still just like really on my heart. Whatever question it was that I asked you, your response was, being a mom is my ministry right now. I
Mhm.
I loved that. So, can you tell us a little bit about your heartbeat behind that comment?
Yeah. So actually, I think it was recently we had a conversation and you reminded me that I said that. And I remember thinking like, okay, that was such a good heart check that you even brought that up. Because sometimes I just get so focused on the other like priorities in life that I needed to remember that this is my focus. This is my ministry right now. So I think when you were asking us, you were just getting to know us and you had asked us about ministry. And I remember like I kind of was in flux because at our old church I helped with the youth ministry, and here I'm getting more involved with connecting with young moms. And but it's like in reality, I cannot do much outside of the home because I have little kids. It's just not possible. Like I am part-time children's ministry, but still I get so much help from people at church. People help me prepare supplies and watch the kids for me and things. So it's like I almost said that as like, just so you know, I'm doing ministry. but but it's like it's so all-encompassing right now because that's my time is just taken up, but I said that too because I have arrived at a place where I believe that that is what the Lord has for me, and that's what the Lord has called me to. It is a calling. So and it is an honor, like, with all of the, like, pressures and priorities and, like, time is going so fast. I was noticing, I had told you about the podcast idea that I have with Chris, and I am still planning on doing that. And what's bringing me back to that, I think the Lord pointed out, he has this cute little lisp with his teeth. And this is like so random, but like he lost his two front bottom teeth. And I keep thinking, "Okay, I'm gonna start that podcast before his teeth grow all the way back in because it's so cute." And his little teeth are growing so fast. I'm like, "Ah, the time is going so fast." It was like an object lesson for me, like, "Okay, look how fast the time is going. What are you doing with the time? How are you redeeming that time so
Mhm.
that their days are redeemed for ministry for the Lord, so they get to know him?"
Mm,
So, yeah, and it's just kinda like I want them to know that following Jesus isn't something that our family just does because it's like, "Oh, this is what our family did growing up." But,
mm,
like, I want them to know that following Jesus is life. Like,
mm.
their life comes from that. And when I started reading the Bible with Chris, he was pretty little, but I remember a couple of things. I remember that he said we were reading the book of Acts, and it was a moment when one of the apostles raises someone from the dead. I think it was Peter raises Dorcas from the dead. And he heard that story, and he was like, "What? God can do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's so cool, isn't it?" And so anyway, just the fact that like they can have so much awe and wonder for Jesus, it's like I want them to have that growing up. So that's kind of my heart behind it. It's just like this is where I'm at right now. This is my capacity, and I think this is on purpose. I think that I need to own this so that they get to know Jesus at a young age.
Mm.
So
Oh,
yeah.
wow. I mean, just if a person just really sits in that answer, I mean,
Mm,
that is so impactful when you reframe,
mm,
just the influence that you have as a mom, to be
mm,
able to speak into their lives and even model, like where this is our lives. This is like following Jesus is life. It's not just something that we do. I just think
mm.
that's so powerful right there, that there's such a tremendous amount of influence that we can offer our kids. And so I'm just curious, does your family have family values that you'd like to share?
So we've never really like written down family values, but if I think about it, there are definitely some things that like resonate around our home that keep coming up. So we're a multicultural family, and but some values that we have in common that have like come through in our parenting are definitely one like love and grace. Like we want our kids to know that you are loved by mom and dad, absolutely, and that grace in the fact that like we make mistakes too, and then probably after that, like obedience and respect. Our other parents have told us that they feel like our kids are really well behaved. And I don't say that to brag because it's a challenge. But what I want to tell people, and sometimes if I get the chance, I do share, like, it's not just like they're really good kids or we're really good parents or something like that. But it's like God's given us the tools to discipline our kids. And sometimes I feel so bad about like disciplining them. And, it's like I don't want them to feel deflated or whatever. Like they were really excited about this opportunity they were going to have, or, but it's like, it's so worth it to take that time and make sure that they know that if mom and dad say, you need to do this, then you need to do it the first time. And that's how we get kids that obey the first time, is we put the hours into like training them to do that. So obedience and respect, and Emmanuel does a really good job backing me up if he
Mm.
comes home and I'm like, this was really challenging today. He'll talk to the kids about it. Or Selma's a toddler and I'm like, babe, I told her a bunch of times not to do this. I even disciplined her and it's not. And so he'll say, Selma, what did mom say? And she'll listen to his voice. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Mm.
um,
Wow.
yeah. And then after that, I would say humility and thankfulness. I feel like they pair together really well. We definitely want our kids to say thank you, but we want them to know in their hearts that they're grateful, and kind of teaching them that. And one way we teach them humility too is to admit when we are wrong. And I feel like the faster I do that, the better things go in our day. And I think that it helps the relationship between me and my kids too. Sometimes we could be having a really bad day and I just lost my cool when we were on our way out because we were running late and I was stressed. But if I turn around and apologize in the car before we even get to where we're going, it changes my relationship with the kids because I don't feel like, okay, I'm I'm just a mean mom and there's nothing I can do to get out of this. It's like, no, I can apologize and come back. And that's one thing I've discovered is like if I apologize right away, it really patches the relationship and keeps us going. And I want our kids to see that if you make a mistake, and we do tell them, like, if you do something wrong, if you make a mistake, you're not going to be in trouble for saying for admitting, for telling the truth. There might still be a consequence, but we're pretty pretty adamant about teaching them to apologize and clean things. So yeah,
Wow.
that's what came to mind. Yeah.
I think that that is so important, such an important value to teach. I mean, everything that you shared is really, I mean, just there's so much weight on each of those. But I don't know, there's just something about modeling that mom and dad sometimes make mistakes and we say things that, or we do things, or we respond in a way that, oh, that came out a little hard or whatever, and then apologizing. I think that that is so impactful to our kids because they see mom and dad are walking out what they're saying and what they're teaching me and expecting me to do too. Like they're doing it too. That's so
Mhm.
well done. Well done, mom. uh,
Oh,
and so
it's a learning process.
yes, I understand. So I think that just kind of shifting gears here, we're talking about raising kids in today's world, and you've already shared all of the different moving pieces just from day to day with, things from just being involved with church and things outside the home, and then raising three kids and toys and on the floor and laundry and meals and diapers and and all these different things. And so I want to begin talking about and just really championing the mom, because I don't think that we need to be convinced that motherhood has challenges. I think that we already know that. Nobody needs to be convinced of that. And so
Right.
I want to shift gears and really focus and champion the mom. And so I want to ask you, how do you stay you while raising them?
Hmm. That's a good question. So one thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is I've heard from people who don't have kids yet and who are thinking about having kids that they don't want to lose themselves in having kids. And my response to that is almost like it, it's to be expected. Like you are going to change. Like who you are doesn't just stay the same. But I feel like it almost evolves into who the Lord wants you to be. It's like when you get married, like the Lord's plan for you is to be sharpened by that person. You're not going to be the same person as you were when you got married. Like I think it's the same with having kids. Like you're changed by them and it's a good thing. Like all of the changes that happen to you hopefully are going to make you more selfless and it's going to help you become more compassionate or be passionate about a certain area of life. Like I know someone whose child was born with a disability, and I didn't know her before her children, but I know her to be a person who is an advocate for people who are marginalized. And like I can't help think that like the Lord used that situation and changed her in that way. And so it's so good. But I do think there are definitely things we need to do to like cling to the Lord to shape us into who he wants us to be. Otherwise, definitely like we could just become, you know, slaves to like all the things that need to get done, all the diaper changes and laundry and meals and stuff. Um so like for me, the Lord has been calling me for a while now to be spending my morning time with him. And actually, Susan, there was something you said when we met at your house that time. You said something about how you usually have your foot in the door by 8 p.m. or something like that, or you try to go to bed by a certain time. And I was like, oh, that's so good. Like I need to like make that more of a priority so that I can get up in the morning. And so that's something that I've been doing lately, and I plan to do forever is just spend that recharge time in the morning before the kids get up. We have a rule that our kids they stay in their room until we open the door in the morning. We don't I try not to abuse that, like I don't leave them in there forever, but I, they know that if they wake up or, Chris is the one that can read. So if he wakes up, he can go look at books, but he needs to stay, he can go potty, but he needs to go back until we open the door. So that gives me a little more time to kind of, spend some time with the Lord in prayer during the morning. And if I wake up grumpy, usually I get it out in that prayer time. I might still be tired or dozing off, but I'll, you know, bring it back to him and then kind of start my day. And I've already gotten that piece out and be able to hit the ground running. But one thing I've learned is like that's a way of me recharging and like starting my day off well. And there's like so many rabbit trails I'm thinking of right now, like the things that I've gotten to pray during that time, just specific things that I've needed for my day. I'll just share one is that like there are specific needs that come up during our day. Like there's one of our children that during any particular week might be more challenging. So like my prayer time that day, I'll say, Lord, like if the enemy's trying to drive a wedge between us, like I cancel that in Jesus' name, and just like preparing for the day. And I pray in the room that's next door to their room, so I'll just like bless them, and it helps set me up for that, for the strife of the day. But yeah, but I rest that way. There are other things that I've tried before that I felt like were restful, but like actually just stole my energy. So like I mentioned that I'm not on social media much, and that was like a conscious decision over time. I used to spend hours just scrolling, or like and I still fight it, but like if I get home and no one needs me yet, I'll stay in the car for a little while and just kind of scroll through things but I've realized that that's like a dopamine fix that my mind wants, and it's not rest. It's like to scratch an itch, and then it doesn't set me up to be more selfless going forward. It just like it's like an indulgence, and it's like feeding my flesh. Like it just makes me more selfish going forward. And so things like that I try to stay away from and see through like the enemy's temptation to just like recharge that way. Like, oh, you just need, some more chocolate and then you'll feel better and ready to take on the day. Like you just need to scroll through Facebook a few more times. But it's like it just leaves me more tired. So yeah, I would say just like my time with the Lord is a big one. Getting together with friends too, I would say is a way to do that. And I think that too, like we can teach our kids selflessness through that, even if like I'm getting together with a buddy of my kid's mom so that they can have a play date, but we can have a mom talk. We try not to like make our whole hangout about the kids. We try to have our own time talking, so that the kids will see like you're not the center of the universe. Like we love you. You're in our hearts, but you're not the center of our universe.
Mm.
We also are having our conversation, and you can be patient and wait and say excuse me if you need to ask me a question and that kind of thing. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's so good. I mean, I think right there, I think that that could even help teach and foster security in them, that I
Mhm.
love you and you are very important to me. And I know that you don't understand it at the age of 5, but moms have like eyes everywhere. And
Right.
I know where you are, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a mommy conversation right now. I
Mhm.
love that. And as I'm listening to you, I keep wanting to just interject and ask you, so do you feel like this requires intentionality and discipline on your part to have, because really what you're and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would you say that these are personal boundaries that you've established for you that kind of keep you like steady and on course?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, because when I'm not working, I do tend to stay up really late when I don't have anything to get up in the morning for. I'll stay up really late at night. I'm a night owl, and that'll make me want to sleep in the morning. And then it's like, oh boy, now the kids. But it's like the kids. are like an alarm clock. They wake up at the same time. Daylight savings has been great because they think that it's still 7 a.m., but it's actually 8 a.m. But, so it's like it does have to be a boundary that I put in place. It's like a discipline. It's like my work is at home. So there has to be some kind of break and recharge. And so the enemy does want me to think that like these other things are going to recharge me and refuel me. And I have learned over time not to fall for that. It doesn't mean I don't sometimes, and I'll add to that too. One thing too is like accepting help and asking for help. That's a big one. Yeah, yeah. There have been people at church who have offered to come and watch the kids. And in general, like the people who have offered, I absolutely trust them. But I am very selective. My husband and I are we're very selective about who watches the kids. There's a little bit of that fear in there, but also it's like conscientious, it's good to we're cautious of who watches them and like whether they're a safe person, whether the things they will be speaking into our kids' lives are healthy and true and gonna, mold who they are. So anyway, to have people offer to help and to accept, like it has definitely taken a lot, but it's been so valuable.
Mm.
So yeah, just to say there has to be help that comes from outside. You can't do it all on our own.
Yeah. And Cassie, I think that that really goes to a point that you made way at the beginning of our conversation today about expectations. I think that, I mean, I saw it in myself as a mom, and, I've seen it I have friends who are raising kids, and they've confided in me that sometimes we can be so hard on ourselves because we've set the bar so high,
Yeah.
and that the thought of lowering our expectations, it's almost like filtered through that's a sign of weakness, or it's like, it's an indicator that I'm failing or that I'm not enough, or all of these different things. And so would you say then that if we can, with God's help, reframe that, that actually
Mhm.
accepting help is a sign of strength, it's not a sign of weakness?
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Yeah. And as you were talking to it made me kind of visualize this like bar that's being set and I feel like below the bar what I've like subconsciously put and maybe I'm not the only one is like if we could keep it at if we could keep the standards at this level it's almost like we could save our kids from any of the hurt that we've experienced growing up or any of the challenges that we've had or so it's like it's there for a good reason. We want to help spare our kids from some of the scary things we've learned about in the world or whatever it is that's below the bar that we feel like is, if we lower it, then that's what they might encounter. But it's like the Lord almost like changes that around and tells us where we should be putting the bar instead of you know, living to avoid fear or to avoid heartbreak or whatever it is, like just following what he tells us to do as parents, I feel like is saves us from a lot of that stress, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, wow. And I think, just going this being intentional, establishing boundaries for yourself, all really just encompass this idea of leading yourself well. And so I want to talk specifically to the single mom that might be listening this week, or the mom in the years of raising small children. I often think, about the mom that might be listening, or maybe the mom that come up and ask for prayer at an event or church service or something like that. And she just feels like she's drowning in, wiping up spilled juice off the floor, or wiping noses, or wiping bottoms. And that's just kind of her day in and day out. And so there's three specific areas that I would like for you to encourage and speak into the heart of that mom listening today, that she's listening and she's feeling like, that's me. And if I were honest, albeit under my breath, I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I've lost myself, and I I feel like I'm failing. And, these different things that we have been talking about and that are common. And I think that for the mom listening today, I think perhaps that's a great point to make is you're not alone in those feelings and those thoughts. They are feelings and thoughts and experiences that every mom has. We just do. And so the first thing is, Cassy, how would you encourage the mom who feels like she's not enough?
So when we moved here, had our baby, it was like, okay, 3 kids, 6 and then 2 and under, and it's a lot. And so I would say I'm married. I can't totally identify with being a single mom. I can't say I completely understand, but I will say that some aspects of it I could understand because with Emmanuel's hours that he works and the things that he's doing at church, it's like a lot of the responsibilities I take on as a sacrifice so that he can focus on ministry. And so it feels a little bit like being a single mom sometimes, but I will say the challenges faced by single moms, like I'm glad you said that you are not alone. It's so difficult already, but I would say that probably all of us as parents, we're all going to provide an incomplete picture of what parenting is supposed to be, whether it's because we're struggling with mental health ourselves or our marriage is not perfect just because we live in a fallen world, or whatever it is. Maybe our family's going through something or a loss in the family. At any given stage, it's like we're not we're not going to be that perfect picture of what a family is going to look like. So it's like even the nuclear family, it's like we need to cling to what it looks like to show the Father's love and, just rest in his promises that he is enough for us, that when we are weak, he is strong. I do believe that there are tools that he gives us. He doesn't, you know, just want us to say, like, okay, this is a struggle, but it'll be fine. I don't think that the Lord is saying that to us, but I do think that he loves us very much and that we can rely on his promises that his strength is enough, and that if we lean into that community that he's given us, and hopefully the single mom listening will have a community that she can lean into, and if not, our church is here. Hopefully there's a church nearby her and that she can lean into. But yeah, just that none of us is enough. That's all I want to say. I know it's a little rambling way to say it. None of us is enough. We are enough with him. And it is exhausting, but I would just encourage her that way, that plug into the Lord, plug into all of the ways that he can charge you up, plug into his word so that he can feed you with truth, so that when you're speaking with your kids, that's what comes out. And when you're stressed or that's what comes into your thoughts, ask him to let no thoughts enter your mind that are not from him and that are discouraging. And so keep fighting that war. It is definitely a battle. So
Mhm. Mhm. I'm so
mhm.
glad that you encouraged her, whoever is listening and needing to hear this encouragement. You encouraged her to be around community, because I just think that that's so important to be reminded of, that when we are feeling these things and when there's challenges and life is a little bit more at different seasons that we kind of ebb and flow. It's in that community where we can link arms with other people, and they can encourage us and remind us of what is true, to your point, of course, the Lord, but also you also added, we need one another. You can't isolate yourself, and I think that sometimes when we're like really in the busyness of raising kids, it can be easy to feel like I don't have any margin in my life to have a social life. So community really isn't an option for me, you know.
Yeah.
But I think I think that and maybe somebody could reach out to you for, or if you know of any and you want to share just some different options or examples of what is available for today's mom to be able to connect with community I know back in the day, there used to be like mops or something like that. I don't even know if that's around anymore. I'm so dating myself, but my point is there are things where you don't necessarily have to find a babysitter and have that cost up front. You can, like, it's kind of a combined thing, where you can go with your kids and the kids kind of do something together. And I think that you even mentioned earlier, even just having a play date, meeting at the park, and
Right.
everybody's kids play and you make a day of it or whatever. And so how would you encourage the mom who is feeling like she's failing?
So first of all, you asked about groups or things like that, and I was actually going to suggest MOPS. It's so funny that you brought that up. I'm involved in a MOPS group, and it's because I wanted to, one, get that community for myself, and two, I wanted to learn what they do because we're hoping to start one up at Lighthouse within this coming year. So yeah, just to be a resource for people in the community. I love it. A lot of times I do not wanna go that morning, and I'm like, "Man, just to get the kids out." We usually show up, like, 30 minutes late, but it's 2 hours long, so it doesn't matter, they still get some time to play. So we'll go, and when I leave, I'm so refreshed, and it focuses us on truth, and it gives us an outlet to talk about things, and everyone's talking about, like, the morning they had or just some random thing that's, like, funny. It's, like, so relatable, it's funny. And so I'll just put that plug in there that MOPS is actually changing their name to MomCo because they want to be more inclusive of all parents, moms of all ages. So moms of all ages can search out either MomCo or MOPS. They're still kind of online as MOPS if you look them up. And there's like an online database. I just Googled like MOPS groups in my area and I could put in my city and just let them know. And, found some churches that had that. So to the mom who thinks that she's failing, like, one way that I have grown so much as a mom is by scheduling play dates with other moms that I respect the way that their kids act. So just like, I don't know, in the neighborhood or whatever it is, even if like I don't love everything about their parenting style, I've at least learned some things about it that I want to take away. Like, oh, this mom's having her kid help with this chore around the house. That's a good idea. I never considered that they could do that for themselves. So, just little things like that, it kind of like sharpens me. So, I'd encourage her to like reach out to people. And I mean, that's more about community. And I know busyness is definitely a thing, but I definitely think it should be a priority because it helps us all grow for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that this really helps with the final point. And maybe you've already answered this about encouraging the mom who feels like she's alone plugging into something. Because and again, don't want to put words in your mouth, but when even if you are 30 minutes late, you do still go, and you realize just in conversation that, oh my goodness, like these other moms are having the same struggles I am, or they're whatever discipline situation they're having, I'm having that too. It's not just me. It's just not my kids. And
Yeah.
so I think that just having that community, and getting plugged in will help you find support and feel less alone and feel understood, and just even finding, apart from those play dates or those mops group, you can stay connected, whether it be through texting or whatever. And even just, probably, I'm sure you even share prayer requests or something like, my kids are
Yeah.
really sick, would you please pray, to have that prayer support as well. I can only imagine how that's been so important and valuable for you.
Yeah. It's been really, really good. Yeah. Just to have that connection. And I just say one more thing is that like those lies do creep in like often and they feel so real. Where it's like at the end of the day, like, gosh, I wish I could get some help with this, or I know that Emmanuel's had a long day at work. He's had back-to-back meetings, but he'll come home and the trash is sitting right there. Like, can't you just take the trash out? Like, oh, I'm doing all this alone. But I think it's been one encouragement I had, maybe it was even from a MOPS video, but just to come out of agreement with those lies that come into my mind. has been a mental habit that I've been trying to form even lately. It's like when those thoughts come in, like, gosh, this is maybe I recently one was like, it was so difficult to get out the door. It was me and the baby because she's still nursing. So she goes with me. And I had a ministry related coffee date with someone on a Saturday, which was like our family time. And it's 100% worth it at the end of the day. But I got in that elevator to leave and I just thought, oh, I'm like, what did we sign up for? Why are we, and these lies keep coming in. Like, I'm never going to schedule a coffee date on a Saturday ever again. This was so difficult to leave them. And it's just like the mental habit that I need to get in is just like coming out of agreement with those lies. Like, this is worth it. This is hard, but this is worth it. Like, and just leave it at that. Lord, I praise you. Your mercies are new even today. And just like make it an act of worship regardless. Yeah, I can't even plug or stress how much it is, how important it is to worship. Even with our kids, like we'll have worship music on and try to make that part of our day. We don't always get to it, but along with reading the Bible together with them, just making worship be part of their day too, so that they get to engage in that. And it kind of just like resets. And he is so worthy, even when it's so hard all around us. So,
Yeah. Oh, this has
yeah.
been so good. I feel like we could just continue to carry on this conversation because
Mhm.
I think that you have so much wisdom to offer and to share that will champion moms forward, no matter again what season of motherhood they might be in. Like I said earlier, I think that this is your first time being on the show, but I can so see that you will be a returning guest to maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll come back and explore a different aspect of motherhood somewhere down the road. But I know
Yeah.
that you also have other pieces of wisdom within you. There's so much in you that I feel like I could just tap into and, ooh, I want to learn more about that. Because I think that, I mean, I can learn things from you, and I feel like the listening community can learn from you. There's just so much that you can speak into. And so thank you for your time today. Thank you for your time away from your family. Thank you for just investing. I feel like that word, Cassy, just coming into this recording, I feel like it's been an investment. And so the Lord has used you to just impart wisdom and strength into moms, but it's like an investment into them too. And so thank you. Thank you for
Mm.
allowing the Lord to use you this week. And we loved having you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and the opportunity to be away from the kids for hours. No, but thank you. It really was an honor, and I love getting to speak with you, Susan.
Yeah. Oh, listening community, moms, grandmas, who wherever you are in your stage of life, we love you. We're so honored that you tuned in this week. We do just consider it again an honor to be able to connect with you in the online space. Let us know what your takeaways were. We would love to hear from you, and you can connect with Cassy in the online space by clicking on the links in the show notes. As she said, she isn't on social media very much. So perhaps that would be an invitation if you are looking for a church home to check out Lighthouse in Rosemount, where you can probably find her and meet her in person. You might have to go to the kids' church, but you can find her there. She would love to meet you and just introduce herself to you. So with that, take care. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you right back here next time. Thank you so much for joining me this week. It was great connecting with you. Hey, would you do me a quick favor that would mean the world to me? Would you go ahead and leave a few stars and a review or even a comment? It not only means so much to me, but in the online space and the podcasting world, the more stars, reviews, and comments that a podcast receives, the further the reach. It ranks up a little bit higher in Google searches, which then results in reaching more women with this amazing content. So if you are blessed and enjoying, just the content that you are hearing here on the podcast, would you go ahead and leave a few stars, a review, and some comments? It means the world to me. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you right back here, same place, same time next week.